The purpose of this panel is to celebrate and to highlight what's going on all over the world so that we don't feel that we are alone, so that you don't feel you're alone. Remember we did that little exercise before trying to find out how many countries there are. So we have some fantastic leaders on the stage from all around the world who are going to remind us why the work that we're all doing is important. Why is what I do important? Why is what you're doing important? And so they will share the stories of their work, and we'll, where possible, share videos, because their videos and technology is so wonderful now. We can see for ourselves what's going on in their world. And also because we can't have everyone on stage, we're really just going to take some highlights. So buckle up, guys. We're going to, for the next hour, talk to these various people, the ladies and gentlemen on stage, your brothers and sisters are going to share with us what is going on in the world. A round of applause again. I'm going to start with Paulo from Brazil, not because they've won the World Cup 8 times. But I do want us to do one thing before Paulo speaks. How many of you, let me see, how many Kenyans do we have? Kenya, a representative from Kenya. We have at least 10. Okay, great. Now, in Kenya, because you've come to my country that means most of us are not from Kenya. We want to teach you another Swahili word. Is it too much in the day? Too much? Is it too early? No, it's okay, so we're good. So everybody say karibu. Say karibu. Karibu means welcome in Swahili. It means welcome. So I'd like us to do this. Let's say karibu Paulo. He's even got it. Asante sana, which is thank you very much. Paulo, you've been in this space for a while. Can you cast a vision for why we care about ecosystem building?
Yes, that's a key question. I think ecosystem is the place used by God to orchestrate connections among people. And we understand about ecosystem building. We are church members, right? Church is all about building a community and getting alongside other people. I love the work of Startup Genome. Startup Genome is a non-profit organization that go all over the world with a well-established set of criteria, ranking cities and countries in order to identify which is the most powerful ecosystem in the tech scene, the entrepreneurship scene. And they have these very fancy reports. I love design, they have very beautiful reports. And one of their latest report, they mentioned something very interesting about entrepreneurship and ecosystems. It says that more than 90% of success factors for an entrepreneur to flourish is not related to the founding team, is related to the ecosystem that are serving entrepreneurs. And brings me to the second point, that I see only two roles in ecosystem building. One, if you are an entrepreneur, then I consider entrepreneurs superheroes, And the second role is to serve entrepreneurs. So all capacity builders, investors, incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, everyone exists to serve entrepreneurs and to make their lives easier, because it is tough and it is a very lonely journey. From a burnout to a family crisis, everything bad can happen over through the entrepreneurship journey. And that's why even Bluefields' mission, Bluefields exists to bring the entrepreneur potential to life, accelerating innovations for eternity. So we really believe entrepreneurs can solve, several the worst problems in the world. It's key to solve those issues. And I think there is a market. The third reason I think there is a market trend when it comes to incubators and accelerators, going from content-driven or methodology-driven to community-driven programs. And it resonates a lot when people are lonely in the journey. And we've been interviewing some of our alumni, and they say to us, we got so much value, connections, access to capital, potential customers throughout the journey, throughout the cohort, the acceleration program. But once it's over, we get back being lonely again, So we call that in Bluefields, we baptized this problem saying, my name is loneliness. So this is very common for entrepreneurs, especially in developing country, which very unstable business environment. And I think this is part of our job, giving conditions, providing benefits and solutions for entrepreneurs. So that's why, and we're actually a community where we have access to build relationships, which is key, in my view, the only way to get to people's heart, building relationships, friendships. And I think this is all about communities.
Excellent. Wow, did you say 90% of the success is based on the ecosystem? 90%. We saw Jolly, we're going to hear from Jolly in a minute. The Asia Leadership Development Network has been doing a lot of ecosystem building. And I think this is, in Mongolia, I think this is remarkable in a country that has only had not a large Christian history for about 30 years. 30, how many percent?
Less than 2%.
Less than 2% and less than 30 years of history. Talk to us a little bit about what ALDN, I know you ran this, the largest Central Asian event for faith-driven entrepreneurs, but can we see that video and then we'll talk to we'll talk first? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Todd. Let's hear from Jolly. Let's hear about what the ALDN network is and what kind of challenges and triumphs that you're finding in Mongolia. Talk to us, Jolly.
Okay, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak in front of many diverse countries in beautiful service. And the one who's supposed to be speaking here is actually our CEO and founder, who is Paulo brother, based in California. He sent his greetings to most of you. He said he met you in person, but I have never seen him in person. Like, it's been 3 years since I've joined with LDN. So I've prepared my little brief speaking. May I speak from while I'm reading? Okay. So we live in an ever-changing world where the possibilities are endless, but we also live in an ever-changing world that is full of problems. The same problems in the country of our Mongolia, a landlocked nation in East Asia, sandwiched between Russia and China, if you know. And since transitioning into democracy in the 1990s, various issues such as poverty and uneven economic growth are holding Mongolia back in socioeconomic development. We at Asia Leadership Development Network work to meet the needs of emerging leaders, young entrepreneurs, to equip them with resources, partnership, and leadership development, training, and like-minded communities to encourage and expand gospel transformation in the Mongolian community and beyond. We believe in unleashing potential of aspiring leaders and entrepreneurs by affirming their callings, practicing their gifts and talents, applying redemptive imagination to serve others and to meet the needs of their community and bring lasting change to others around them. There is injustice and inequality in Mongolia like never before. People are suffering, the current system is broken, and there aren't enough leaders that are empowered and courageous enough to create restoration through sacrifice. Through our work, we strive to bring gospel transformation and creative witness in the key cultural spheres. It's a holistic program we're trying to do. Education, media, church, government, business, art, family. Through our local faith-driven entrepreneurship ecosystem development efforts, we are shaping hundreds of entrepreneurs to start and grow their business with kingdom purpose. Through our podcast and mobile applications, we are helping thousands to access Christian literature, e-books, and audiobooks anywhere, anytime. Through faith in work, faith tech efforts, we are challenging believers to integrate their faith into what they do daily. Through our social media platforms, we touch millions of people with value-based leadership content. And last, through Mercy Network project we led, we fed over 1 million meals to the vulnerables with partnership of local churches. So this is the several projects we run, with the consisted of 5 full-times and 2 part-timers in Mongolia and in the United States and in Inner Mongolia. And we work as a hybrid office. And there is our country director sitting, Oyambal brother, whom you also met maybe. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. the challenges of doing business in a new economy. That's phenomenal. We want to cross over. I think, let's talk to Matthew. This is a little bit of whiplash for me. We went from Brazil to... But Todd, do we have the video? Oh, that's the one we watched. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. Matthew, the very first Forge event was last March in Egypt, as you mentioned earlier. The host for that event was TC Egypt, and I'm sure they've been doing some exciting things in another context that is not a majority Christian nation. TC is one of the Sinapis partners. Talk to us about what they have been doing.
Yeah, so the Community Egypt is an amazing organization. Tony George, who leads the organization, is right over here. You'll get an opportunity to hear from him and meet him throughout our time. But the ministry was formed years ago, and it's very diverse, discipleship and other engagement with youth and the local community. And a few years ago, they had determined, and Tony really has this background, that there was a great need for entrepreneurship engagement, recognizing the things that I was referring to earlier and the whole reason that we're gathered. And so as we began to partner with TC a few years ago, they have adapted 2 different training curricula that we offer, the Aspire program, which they call Genesis for idea stage entrepreneurs, and the Entrepreneur Academy. And so they've adapted those for their markets. And what's particularly interesting is there is a Coptic Christian, significant percentage of the population there, I think it's about 20%, that they've begun training with, but also have been adapting that curriculum that we're calling a purpose-driven model to engage those who do not have a Christian faith. They also are highly connected to the local entrepreneurship ecosystem and to investors, and are helping growth stage companies attract capital. We've also been in conversation, Peter, who's not able to be here, who leads Oasis, their effort to equip entrepreneurs. We're looking at expansion into Jordan and Lebanon, where they're already doing some of the other ministry that they do, seeing, God, what might it look like to see entrepreneurship engagement and acceleration happen in those markets in the Middle East. So they are an absolutely remarkable group, bringing outstanding service. And again, to highlight, they're really, really connected in with the local Christian ecosystem and are bringing investors to bear in a really powerful way.
Fantastic. So we've seen something in Egypt, we've seen something in Mongolia, and I think there's a theme that's running here that's beginning to develop. We're going to go to...
I think we've got a video for Egypt, correct?
Do we?
I think we do. So you get to hear from Tony here.
All right. Can we watch that video?
December 2014, we started the Community Egypt. Our vision built it on Isaiah 19. God will know and the Egyptian will know God. 5 cities will speak the language of God. We believe that Egypt will know God and God will know in Egypt.
Egypt has a very unique culture that is very different from a lot of places around the world, in the sense that it's not a Christian majority country, and at the same time it has a lot of Christians than a lot of other countries with Muslim background majority. So we have around 20 million Christians living in Egypt, accounting for the largest percentage of Christian population in the Middle East, which makes it very unique in the sense that the culture, the Christian culture and the Muslim culture is really intertwined in a way that they are affecting each other and they are working together in a way that is very unique.
We believe the business have a high impact to change the community. Because of that, we work with a lot of businessmen, a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of employee, young professionals. And we believe by empowering them, by helping them to understand the kingdom business, they can make a change in Egypt.
And that's why when we started Oasis 4.5 years ago, we wanted to see the Christians that are involved in the business field, who have businesses or who want to start businesses, they can play on this cultural difference and they can play with their business and activating the faith inside their business, and so they are able to affect the culture of Egypt and hence the Middle East. Through the past 4 years, we have worked with more than 300 entrepreneurs in different stages who are making accumulatively more than 300 million Egyptian pound per year in sales, and who are employing hundreds of people in different industries and in different markets, from manufacturing to retail to product to technology and many other industries. And we have seen great stories coming out of that. Stories of economic impact, stories of spiritual impact, stories of social impact towards the poor and the people who are underserved, and this has been a great encouragement to us.
We will see God in Egypt, and we will see Egyptian know God by the business, because each one invests and put a lot of hours, a lot of energy, a lot of passion, everything in business, more than 8 hours every day in business. And we believe by these 8 hours, if the mind change, if the heart change, if he understand, he can make a huge impact and change Egypt and Middle East.
I think the theme that we see just running through this thing is that kingdom entrepreneurs now become the church. We become the church. You become the hands and feet of Jesus in our communities, doing more than just business, engaging in growing those communities and finding people in ways that, frankly, many traditional churches would never be able to do. I want to allow Malcolm from Angello tribe, who works with a few entrepreneurship ecosystems in Eastern Europe. It's Eastern Europe where Angello tribe is working, and talk to us about some of the highlights of what is going on with Angello tribe in Eastern Europe.
A little bit of what I've seen develop in Eastern Europe. God called me first to frontier markets and communities when I was 18, and that's a long time ago. And he called me then to Eastern Europe, so into business, and then also to be involved in Eastern Europe almost 30 years ago. And what I've been watching changing in Eastern Europe has been absolutely incredible. I couldn't have believed that what I'm seeing today would have been possible when I went there first almost 30 years ago. And it's an example of, I think, what you're reflecting in many ways, that we are entering a new era of kingdom building all around the world. I see something amazing happening in the last 3 or 4 years that I never saw before, but only dreamt about. And we are at a pivot point now of God working, building community, and through the marketplace. And so it's a very exciting time to watch what you guys are all doing. What excites me about that is that new era is going to be led by national leaders with national level vision who have convening power in their nations to bring the right people around the table, to bring global partners around their table with vision for national transformation. That's what I'm seeing happening in lots of different parts of the world, but it really excites me to see that happening in Eastern Europe. When I went first there almost 30 years ago, what I see emerging now, particularly in Moldova and Romania, is really outstanding. So with Anatol in Moldova, with Ruben, Oana, Corneliu, Christian, Roxana from Romania, what I'm seeing emerging is incredible. Here are leaders with national level vision for transformation right across the country. Now, national level vision is not something that we find very often. And one of the things that Angello is excited to do in Eastern Europe and in lots of other parts of the world in frontier and emerging markets is to work with leaders with national level vision. These guys in Moldova, Romania, there's a guy coming from Belarus, so we're going to get another B here. Guy coming from Belarus. It's incredible what God is doing. I had the privilege to be with the Romanian guys, with Kurt, in August in Romania. I had the privilege of being in Moldova in November with Derek and a few others. What God is doing there is incredible. What I'm seeing is leaders with national level vision. I'm seeing teams emerging with tremendous trust and unity amongst groups of leaders. What I'm seeing happening is movements beginning to build across those countries, bringing together Christian entrepreneurs to first talk about discipleship. What does it mean to follow Christ in business? What does it mean for a whole new generation of entrepreneurs all across the country to start thinking about following Christ in the marketplace? What does it mean for those movements to then start taking seriously the robustness and the growth of their businesses, to take seriously generosity, to take seriously mobilizing investment capital to come into their businesses. So I'm seeing the whole ecosystem of thinking beginning to emerge in these nations of Eastern Europe, and that is super exciting. Some of the highlights for me of this, just by being able to visit these places, even just this year, was the level of unity and trust amongst the leadership teams. And you guys that have been around a long time, when you see tremendous vision and then unity amongst really capable people, all aligned around the same vision, where you see love, humility, lack of ego, and a real desire to honor God, then you know that something amazing is going to happen. And that's what I've seen emerging both in Moldova and Romania. And one of the highlights of real health and humility that excited me so much was being in Moldova in November, to have two of the leaders from Romania, Corneliu and Adi, come to Moldova to inspire, to support, to say, we are with you, to come across the border, to bring their experience, to bring their passion, to come and sow vision across the border. To me, the humility, the love that the Romanians were showing to come and put their arm around the guys in Moldova and say, we will help you up. So that was one of the highlights for me, to see real health happening as the ecosystem got stronger in both of these countries in Eastern Europe. And I believe that from these guys, blessing will come into the other countries and around the region. So it's a tough region. You know right now what's going on in Russia has such a knock-on effect in all the countries of the region. So to see this beginning to emerge at this time, I think is going to be really exciting. So you're going to see a video of the Guild Faith movement that is happening in Romania, and watch this and be inspired.
În România avem multe provocări ca și antreprenori credincioși. Nu prea știm cum să integrăm principiile și valorile creștine în afacerea noastră și, de asemenea, nu știm cum să fim cu adevărat ambasadori ai lor. Așa că scopul nostru la Guild Faith este să ajutăm oamenii de afaceri să integreze principiile și valorile creștine în afacerea lor.
În primul rând, acest grup m-a ajutat să-mi deschid perspectiva. E un grup antreprenorial creștin, dar niciodată nu m-am gândit la oameni creștini din business ca fiind dincolo de cercul meu imediat.
Cred că este necesar să existe astfel de grupuri în România pentru a promova valorile care sunt adevărate. În această societate în care valorile au ajuns să mai fie valori,
Filozofia noastră este de a aduce transformarea prin grupuri mici, în care antreprenorii credincioși vin împreună și discută despre principiile și valorile creștine. Am fost impresionat de interesul ridicat al oamenilor de afaceri credincioși din România pentru astfel de contexte. Doar în ultimul an am avut peste 1000 de participanți la conferințele în care am discutat despre principii biblice de creștere în afaceri în 8 orașe din România. În urma acestor conferințe avem mai multe grupuri care au pornit.
M-a provocat acest grup să încerc să fiu mult mai aproape de oamenii din jurul meu și să fim acea sare și lumină pe care ne-o cere Hristos în Biblie, și prin modul în care ne conducem afacerile, prin modul în care vorbim cu colaboratorii noștri.
Din multe puncte de vedere m-a ajutat acest grup. În primul rând să înțeleg că nu suntem singurii noi antreprenori ortodoxi care au gând de a implementa în cadrul firmelor concepții creștine, și sunt și alte confesiuni. Și cred că ce mă ajută cel mai mult e faptul că învățăm unii de la alții. Învățăm pur și simplu unii de la alții.
Tot ce se întâmplă aici și tot ce am învățat se aplică foarte ușor și în relațiile familiale, în relațiile cu oameni, indiferent de credința din care fac parte.
Acest grup pentru mine este dovada vie a faptului că sunt oameni care își trăiesc credința și care duc lucrul ăsta mai departe în firmele lor, în familiile lor.
Am învățat multe lecții în cadrul întâlnirilor Guild Faith, dar două
mi-au rămas așa puternic întipărite în minte. Una dintre ele este că nu sunt proprietarul afacerii mele, ci sunt doar un administrator. Și asta a luat multă presiune de pe umerii mei. Un al doilea lucru foarte important e că afacerea noastră, a mea și a asociatului meu, este o platformă sau poate fi o platformă pentru binecuvântarea celorlalți, pentru lărgirea Împărăției lui Dumnezeu.
În contextul grupului Guild am reușit să învățăm împreună, de fapt, cum putem integra partea asta sau domeniul ăsta spiritual în business, în lumea materială.
Câteva din întâlniri au fost cu adevărat speciale și anume m-au motivat să caut mai adânc conexiunea dintre credința mea și ceea ce fac la business.
Aceste întâlniri sunt un prilej extrem de pozitiv pentru a redobândi o legătură comună și a redobândi o cultură antreprenorială.
Cred că ar fi bine ca aceste grupuri să existe în cât mai multe părți ale României, tocmai pentru a fi un grup de sprijin pentru cei care au nevoie de un feedback, de o încurajare.
Intenționez să dau drumul la un nou grup de 6, 7, 8 persoane care să stăm pe parcursul câteva întâlniri și să discutăm lucrurile pe care le-am învățat aici.
Împreună, cred că putem să contribuim la dezvoltarea unui ecosistem antreprenorial care să susțină dezvoltarea de business-uri aici în România, care să ducă la o transformare pozitivă în familiile noastre, în comunitățile noastre și în țara noastră.
Fantastic.
I'm sorry to interject. How cool did Ruben look there at the end? He's right over there. That was awesome.
Thank you once again, Malcolm Johnston with Angello. I could tell from your accent that you're Romanian. We want to come to Africa for a second. I'd like to speak to my sister Juliet from Uganda. And I'd like her to tell us a few of the stories that she has from Uganda. Juliet, talk to us. Can you tell us a few stories from Uganda? Because certainly we can see one of the things that we're experiencing now is that some of the stereotypes of what the other people do and look like are being broken. And certainly for me, you know, I watch a lot of movies, and anybody from Romania or any of the Slavic countries, there's such a stereotype in entertainment and in media. There's such a stereotype, and this kind of breaks it down, that to see these guys are actually believers just like you and I, who really want to bring the kingdom forth. And it's so powerful what you've talked about when you said that in humility and putting down of egos and willingness to stretch and really help their brothers out from Moldova and the neighboring countries. So thank you once again, Malcolm, for that. Juliet, talk to us about Uganda. What are you seeing on the ground about the impact that entrepreneurs are having there?
Thank you, Peter. I actually have the privilege of being surrounded by these stories back in Uganda on a daily basis. Aren't I special? Yeah, but as we were talking this morning, actually 2 entrepreneurs from Uganda came to mind in terms of this particular impact that we are creating as a movement. I'm reminded about one of our entrepreneurs that went through our academy program. This is Sandra Ejang, who is the founder and CEO of Western Silk. So Western Silk Road is a company that is processing honey. And this is something that actually came out of a need that she saw in the community. So Sandra came into our program, basically just processing honey and providing it as a product to households. And when she went through, I think the first 2 months of training where we were talking about the customer, she actually realized she had assumptions about this business, her own assumptions and not the customer's assumptions. One of the things I remember she mentioned, and she was like, I've been introduced to my business through this program. From that particular training, Sandra went on to rethink her business model. She's currently working with 1,563 farmers, and this is in 3 districts as I speak in Uganda. And what Sandra is doing is basically training them, first of all, in the beehive businesses. She's mentoring, she's using the tools that she actually picked, some of the tools she picked from the training, and mentoring many of these farmers. The interesting point here is that 80% of her farmers are women, and 65% of those are youth. Now, these are people literally that were in this district without no jobs. I know many of you have heard the ranking for Uganda when it comes to entrepreneurship. Many times we are saying third, best entrepreneurial country. And sometimes there have been challenges, even with these entrepreneurs. But Sandra has been able to work with all these farmers. And one of the things we are seeing is the number of jobs that she's creating. She's been able to increase her revenue in terms of not just providing honey, but she's gone into providing honey as a product in cosmetics. So honey that is used in soaps, infused honeys, spices, and all that. But most importantly, I think something that literally has been of impact, even in our spaces, is the fact that she's working with farmers in terms of training, but also discipling them. She's created devotional sessions, and these are sessions that happen at the farm, under the trees. These guys are able to talk about what we talk about in the Kingdom Business Framework. How can I steward the talents, the resources that God has given to me? And it's actually been of impact because she's dealing with farmers of faith and those of no faith. And that has actually been an interesting journey. A couple of days ago, actually, we were speaking with Sandra, and allow me to share some of the things that she highlighted in her conversation. She says the tools that you and your trainers provided me with have been tools that are not just helping my business, but growing the faith of these farmers. Some of these farmers are actually prison inmates. And she's saying, I'm bringing hope through just a training program. That is really exceptional in our community. I don't know about your countries, but that's awesome, something worth talking about. She said that the creativity around how working with the farmers has also created innovation in our business, because now she's looking at extending, not just looking at honey. She's gone into tree conservation. She has the beehives, and right now she's working with 50 farmers when it comes to planting trees. We are dealing with afforestation right there, indirectly. So that has been the journey, some of the stories that we are walking along with, increased and stable incomes, especially for these women. And as the incomes increase with the women, we also believe it's a better story for the men in their lives. Children are going to school, jobs have been created. One particular thing I remember is she started giving credit to these farmers as a way of making sure that they have capital. So when she gets the credit, she's working with almost 50 agents in mobile money banking, because they are in different districts. So we have many people that have actually put up stalls just for agency banking, and this is where the money is given. All those jobs were non-existent, and right now we see people who have a dignified life because of that paycheck. We believe that contributes to the vision of Sinapis. We are here to make disciples and alleviate poverty through the power of entrepreneurship.
That's fantastic. I want to go back to something that Malcolm was doing. Part of the video that you saw was the 8-week FDE program, Faith-Driven Entrepreneurship program, that those people were going through. And this seems to be reflected in this same thing that you're talking about, Sandra, here, that discipleship making by entrepreneurs is so vital in creating the kind of synergies that we're seeing. We want to hear just a couple more stories. One, we'll hear from Malcolm in a minute, but I want to hear again, tell us one story from Brazil, I believe it is. Paulo, tell us this one story. I think you have one story for us. Yes. Then we'll hear another story from Malcolm, and then I'll talk to Matthew about something. So each of you prepare your stories, and we'll see how once that's done, we'll be able to go to the next activity, which is out there, but I'll prompt us for that. Over to you, Paulo.
Well, after quitting a dream job from a Nordic company with a sense of mission to found Bluefields, I pitched the local pastor of my church, and my church is one of the main supporters to this day. But I went to the Bay Area, visited some of the fancy accelerators there, and brought the similar methodology to Brazil. But ending with the bad results. So we accelerated the failure of so many startups and entrepreneurs. And then my savings were gone, and I was kind of desperate, and I Googled about what is out there, and I found Sinapis. And I just shared my story with Courtney, one of Sinapis founders, and she said, by the way, we are about to, expand our operations beyond Africa. You might be the guy we're looking for. So this is how I met Sinapis. So I flew here to Nairobi back in 2017 to watch the classes and learn about the methods. So we translated Portuguese, and then we officially launched Bluefields in August 2017. But one month later, no one signed up. And you're going to watch a video that from the first guy. That's the true early adopter, like the first customer, we ever had. And he was a pioneering solution in Brazil that he created in order to automatically split the payments. So it was a coding solution that went to the card paying machine. And he did that because of he was struggling with the unsafety issues with offerings and tithes to his local church. So this is how he came to us in the acceleration cohort. And then we gave us a list of 300 churches for him to go there and sell his solution. And he just sold to one of them. That's the one that he married the pastor's daughter. And then we said, it doesn't count at all. So you're not validating your business with our solution like this. And then he asked me, what should I do? And there was this pivotal moment, and I asked him, why not trying this solution to elsewhere, to other kind of businesses or entities that would see value in this. And after many tries, he ended up selling to barbershops. And it was really scaling, to hundreds of barbershops, because it really it speeds up the paying time. It's hard to manage everything. It's very rushy, a barbershop day-to-day activities and so on. And that came to attention from Stone. Stone is a giant company in Brazil. It's a startup unicorn with evaluations of billions of dollars. And some time later, Stone acquired Danilo's businesses, and now he's in charge of global partnerships at Stone. And this video was recorded last year. We're trying to, 60% of our revenue comes from donors. So we did these roadshow events across the country, trying to, came attention to people around Brazil. And this very session we're going to just watch right now, it was their own virtual session, so we could record that. So this is Danilo testimony after this whole story, so just to give you some context.
Como o Paulo comentou lá, cara, fala a verdade. Eu vou falar a verdade. Não tem como desvincular o que a gente tem feito hoje não somente na vida pessoal, mas dentro da própria Stone, depois que a gente vendeu, se a gente não tivesse um bom embasamento de Kingdom Business dentro da Bluefields, tá? O Paulo sabe de muitos eventos que eu compartilho com ele, que a gente tenta trazer aqui para dentro da companhia, em reuniões, e a gente conseguir embasar a nossa tese, a nossa linha de pensamento com embasamento bíblico. Então não tenho vergonha alguma, óbvio, eu tenho essa liberdade aqui dentro da companhia também, dá essa liberdade. Falo, irmão, gente, eu acho que tem que ser assim, porque eu acredito que tal forma, porque a minha base é essa, né? Até esses dias um diretor aqui da companhia sócio também falou assim, você que gosta de ficar falando aí de versículo bíblico, aqui não fala tal coisa. Então, por quê? Eu entendo que o processo de aceleração da Bluefields ajudou a gente a avançar tanto na solução, né, do ponto de vista de gestão do negócio, de tecnologia, de produto, mas também em levar o reino onde quer que a gente esteja, né? E quem me deu embasamento não tem como, foi a Bluefields. Então, do ponto de vista de vida cristã, acho que necessário, seria muito importante se eu conseguisse, inclusive, encontrar mais 1, 2, 3 pessoas aqui onde eu estou que tivessem o mesmo pensamento que eu tenho. Acho que a gente ia conseguir juntar mais forças e fazer com que as pessoas entendessem que o negócio delas também pode ser um canal de expansão do reino, né? É uma dificuldade que a gente tem que, temos que ter mais empreendedores participando do processo da Bluefields.
Fantastic. Sounds to me just like a story from Acts of the Apostles. He says, Philip's riding in the chariot, and then they say, "Stop! What does this Bible scripture verse mean?" And he explained it to him, and there you have something expanding from there. I'm not sure about that expanding the business through marriage model before, but maybe that will work. It's risky. Juliet says it's risky. Malcolm, back to you. Could you tell us one great story from your entrepreneur network, from your side of the story?
Yeah, I want to tell you a little bit about empowering young people, and I love the story that Juliet told about the impact of entrepreneurs creating jobs, and then when jobs are created, families begin to rise up again, and kids' lives completely change. And I realized that right from I was a teenager, what God put most in my heart was to see young people have the opportunity first to grow, then to catch vision and begin to fly. And that excites me so much. And so for me, a lot of what comes at the root of what we're all about is not just transformed communities, but transformed lives, because people having a job creates the opportunity for families to change completely. And I've spent all of my life watching that happen in reality, close to the ground. So I love watching young people having the opportunity to fly. And one of the things that we have done in Angello over this last couple of years is to build a tribe of young people, so that we can help as much as we can to learn from these young people, hear what they're thinking, and do what we can to help to nurture their growth. And I want to point out to you 2 of these young people who are here today, and just to tell you a little bit about them. And they're part of this tribe of young people. Young people are between 25 and 35, so most of you would not qualify. But 2 of them do qualify. So I want to introduce you first to Kekshan over there. Please stand up, Kekshan. Let's give her a round of applause. So Kekshan and the team from Pakistan are doing amazing things in a country where the Christian community is so small, and so lacking in confidence about their part in bringing transformation in a country that is so enormous, 220 million people. And I had the privilege of visiting there in April, and these guys taught me so much about what it is for ecosystems to build in frontier markets, and for the possibility of transformation, and how critical it is for national leaders to emerge from the church who have vision. And what these guys are doing, so Kekshan has been doing, and the team, is thoroughly inspiring. The vision that Kekshan has for a different Pakistan from what you ever would have heard of Pakistan is absolutely incredible. So you need to find Kekshan and hear her vision. And if I talk about we're going into a time of a new era of kingdom building, that's my language. Listen to what Kekshan says about the new era that is dawning, about what localization looks like, and how that's going to impact Kekshan or impact Pakistan. So make sure you talk to Kekshan and hear what they're doing. They just did a city tour, going around inspiring Christian people to come into business and to think about business as a place to bring transformation. From the tour that they did of these cities, they got, 808? They got 808 business plans for business startups from Christians in Pakistan who's starting to get the vision about being in the marketplace and doing something different. Imagine 100 people saying, we want to start a business. So find Kekshan and hear what she's doing. Thank you, Kekshan. The other person I want to introduce you to is Trinity from Uganda. So Trinity, stand up and give him a round of applause. What Trinity is doing in Uganda is amazing. And again, you want to find him and hear about his vision, not just about Kampala, not just about Uganda, but a different Africa. And how Trinity can articulate that, what is needed for a new Africa, is incredible from his words and his vision. So Trinity was born and grew up in the slums in Kampala. He learned skills in digital design, started a business. That business now employs 30, moving towards 50, right, people in Kampala. But they also started an outreach program into the slums in Kampala to teach the young people, just like Trinity, to learn these skills in digital design, to become employable, to come into Trinity's business or other businesses in the sector. And so the impact that Trinity's been having based on his experience has been absolutely incredible. But what I love, you can sit down, Trinity, thank you. What I love about these guys is their vision for something completely different in their communities and in their countries, and how they can articulate that. And that excites me no end to watch that throughout our community here, to watch these young people emerging in emerging frontier markets with their vision for something completely different. They've got deep faith, that dream bigger that Matthew talked about earlier on. It absolutely takes my breath away to hear the dream bigger picture of these guys. And I've spent all my life doing things that felt like mission impossible. But when I hear these guys talk about transformation across nations and across continents, that is absolutely breathtaking. So the story I would like to share with you is the inspiration that the young people are that are coming around this community. And it's been our privilege in Angello to build this tribe of 12 or 13 young people from lots of different countries to hear their perspective. And they will be the future of driving this movement. And so it's so exciting to see people like Kekshan and Trinity coming through, because they will be the future. So find them, hear their vision for dreaming bigger, and it'll take your breath away.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Malcolm. Malcolm also speaks Urdu and Luganda and Romanian. Malcolm, what don't you speak? English. Oh. Yeah, I think those are English people speaking. The people from England.
That hurts.
Ay, ay, ay.
Wow.
I have 2 minutes. I think I have about 2 minutes. I'm going to ask Matthew, I want to give you the privilege of talking about Kenya. Forget about the English people for a minute. Let's talk about Kenya. We're going to, I think this is important for us. You're going to talk to us about Jaza Center? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so let me set up, we're going to show another video. So the Jaza Center was founded by an entrepreneurial couple named Joseph and Leah Gachunge. They're Kenyan, and they ran into a problem in their life. They started to have kids, and there is a cultural norm here that when you reach the middle class and you're having children, you will probably employ a domestic worker. And those can take a variety of different forms. That could be a nanny or a cook, or sometimes it's a gardener. And they're Kenyans, and yet when they came to that point in their life, started to have children, they had a really difficult time finding someone to help around the house that they felt like they could trust, was a good fit with their family. Interestingly, when we lived here, we had God connect us in an amazing situation, but I've heard real horror stories, and being from the culture doesn't necessarily solve that for someone like Joseph and Leah. So they looked at this, and they're entrepreneurs, and said, we see a business opportunity here. And so we had the privilege of training them in our Entrepreneur Academy, and then later in our Fast Track Accelerator program. And they have launched the Jaza Center to specifically target this need of training and placing domestic workers in families, a little bit in corporate environments, but largely with families, helping women generally receive training that allow them to plug into National Social Security, national medicine, to see their wages increase by up to 50%. Because of the additional skills that they build, they're able to stay longer in placements, and they have spiritual integration in the training that they offer. So I believe we're going to show that video, correct? So let you hear from them now.
So the domestic service industry in Kenya is highly informalized. We have really no structure. There is no training strategy for domestic workers. We also have employers who have no guidelines. The government has not put measures to hold them accountable. And that is how now Jaza Center was born, to bridge the gap. Running a kingdom business for us means impacting both socially and spiritually to the people we interact with. So from our internal employees to the domestic workers we train, the customers we serve, and also the community around us. We believe a lot in actions and what you do in terms of glorifying God. So I don't have to say I am saved or I love God. We want to see you action it.
We have introduced a discipleship program which is run by a pastor every Thursday, like once a week. It's part of our curriculum. When you instill the kingdom principles to these people when they're going to work, the way they view the work, the way they view the employers, the way they interact with everyone else is totally different.
Jaza Center is critically looking at increasing its social impact and possibly being able to reach out to the estimated 2 million domestic workers in Kenya. Would want to venture the East African market and build on the impact, the social impact that we're already doing here in Kenya. Some of our beneficiaries have been able to support their children through school. They are able to save their money, and once they accumulate so much, they're able to borrow and do projects of their own choice. So they can buy land, build homes, and just basically support themselves economically and improve their lives.
So to add just a little bit more to that, Joseph and Leah were part of the FDI marketplace and received an investment into the business. They're targeting 1,000 domestic workers trained and placed per year. And my personal reflection on this, I lived here, I had some sense of the challenges that domestic workers would face and what that might mean, the lack of a marketplace or businesses to solve this problem. But if I dedicated my life to that endeavor, I don't think I would have my thumb on the pulse in the way that Joseph and Leah do, because they're Kenyan, because they understand the dynamics. Again, to this idea of dreaming big, they've got this idea. There's 2 million domestic workers here in just this market, and they're finding ways to serve them, to train them, to empower them. There's dignity infused in the whole thing. And so again, just celebrating the amazing people that God is raising up inside these markets, and the fact that we get to serve them is just this enormous privilege.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate it. We're going to take a short break, but how we're going to do this is I'm going to direct us to step out there. But I do want to say one last thing before we step out there. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, sometimes as trainers, sometimes as investors, sometimes even as pastors, we find ourselves in situations where we feel lost. We feel lost, like what am I actually doing? I'd been a pastor for almost 20 years, and sometimes you're in the middle of everything and you figure out what in the world is going on. Hearing stories like these, looking at what is happening all over the world, gives me that kind of sense of passion that I remember I had when I came to the Lord, and I felt the Lord calling me to go into ministry. And I really felt this tug, and I said, I want to go to the ends of the earth. But now understanding what's going on, I can see what's going on, and this kind of rekindling this fire in my heart. I don't know if it's doing the same thing for you, to really say to you that God is with us. His hand is upon us to go and impact these different communities all over the world. So I want to encourage you today as we take these next few days to really think and open ourselves to the possibility that God is calling us to interact, to dream bigger, as Matthew said earlier, to risk, take faith risks, and to really begin to connect with Pakistan, with Uruguay, with wherever else the people here. Uzbekistan is represented here. And if you go along the corridor there, Uzbekistan, I think, is at the very end with their displays. Take a moment as we do this, because we're going to do a small exercise again. And the exercise is actually going to be practicalized by going out and saying, where is the G country? I want to go there. Where is the T country? I want to go there. What is God leading you to do? Is God leading you to partner somewhere? Is God leading you to rethink and rethink your vision? Really take that into consideration, that maybe I need to partner somewhere with someone. I need to invest somewhere with someone. I need to offer myself as an entrepreneurial coach in my community, or train coaches. This is what I'd like to challenge us to do as we go out into the networking session. And I pray that the Lord will help us. He'll help us to really figure out what His will is in these various areas.